It was found in a sealed tomb, untouched for over 2,000 years, and it had wings. In 1898, Egyptian archaeologists, excavating the tomb of Padi Imen at Saqqara, uncovered a collection of small wooden objects buried alongside the dead. Saqqara, the ancient necropolis south of Cairo, had yielded thousands of artifacts over the centuries. This one was catalogued, boxed, and nearly forgotten. The object measured roughly 14 centimeters in length. It had a tapered fuselage, swept-back wings, and a vertical stabilizer at its tail. For 70 years, it sat in a Cairo museum drawer, assigned catalog number 603037, labeled simply Wooden Bird Figure. Then, in 1969, Egyptologist Khalil Messiha noticed something the catalog had never mentioned. The wings were not curved like a bird's. They were flat, perfectly flat. No known bird has wings like that. No hieroglyph, no tomb painting, no other artifact from that era does either. Messiha published his findings. The academic world responded with measured skepticism, but the object itself offered no explanation. What was known, the tomb dated to approximately 200 BC. What was not known, why this object looked the way it did. From the journal, undated, author unknown, recovered from a private estate in Alexandria in 2019, I have held it. It is lighter than it should be. It wants to move forward. The journal was found inside a leather satchel, tucked beneath a floorboard in a crumbling Alexandria townhouse. No name, no date, only 63 handwritten pages. From the journal, the curator showed it to me without ceremony. He placed it on a cloth and stepped back, as if he did not want to be near it when I saw it for the first time. The object Messiha examined in 1969 had no feathers carved into its surface, no beak, no feet, features that every other Egyptian wooden bird figure possessed without exception. From the journal, I turned it over. The underside is completely smooth. Someone spent considerable effort making it so. This was not accidental craftsmanship. Aeronautical engineers who later examined catalog number 603037 noted one detail that stopped them. The wing cross-section was not flat. It was subtly curved on top, a profile consistent with lift generation. That curve, called camber, is the principle behind every aircraft wing ever built. It was not described in any known aerodynamic theory until the 19th century. From the journal, I asked how old the wood was. He said 2,000 years, perhaps older. I did not respond. There was nothing appropriate to say. The tomb of Padi Imen was not the tomb of a pharaoh or a priest of unusual rank. He was, by available records, an official of modest standing. Why his burial contained this object remains unrecorded. From the journal, what troubles me is not what it resembles. What troubles me is that whoever made it clearly understood something. The shape is not decorative. It is deliberate. In 1971, a small committee of Egyptian scientists formally tested the object's aerodynamic properties. Their methodology was simple. Their findings were not. They added a small clay tail fin to stabilize the model, placed it at the end of a slight incline, and released it. It glided. Not a tumble, not a drop. A sustained level glide across a room in front of witnesses without any modern modification to the original object. From the journal, one of the engineers went quiet after the test. He stood at the window for a long time. I did not interrupt him. The committee's report was submitted. It was not widely circulated, or after to force, and the copies exist in partial form in 2 university archives. Abertus. Catalog number 603047 was returned to display, this time in a glass case, no longer in a drawer. The label still read, Wooden Bird Figure. From the journal, I returned to see it again 3 days later. I wanted to know if my impression had changed. It had not. If anything, it was stronger. The wood itself was identified as sycamore, common in ancient Egypt, used for everyday objects and sacred carvings alike. Nothing unusual in its material composition. But the joinery was unusual. The wings were not painted or glued. They were fitted into a precise slot carved along the body's midsection with remarkable accuracy. From the journal, the slot is machined. That is the only word I have for it. Not carved. Machined. I am aware of what I am saying. No tool marks consistent with known ancient Egyptian woodworking were found along the interior of that slot. What made it has not been identified. Researchers familiar with ancient Egyptian carpentry examined photographs of the slot under magnification. Their assessments were careful and uniformly inconclusive. From the journal, I brought the photographs to a craftsman I trust. He studied them for several minutes, then handed them back without comment. I asked what he thought. He said he would rather not. The object's vertical stabilizer. From the journal, the tail fin is vertical, perfectly, deliberately vertical. I measured it 3 times. I kept measuring it because I did not want the number to be what it was. In aviation, a vertical stabilizer controls yaw, the left-to-right rotation of an aircraft in flight. Its inclusion in a design is not intuitive. It must be understood. From the journal, I have been trying to imagine how someone arrives at this shape by accident, by decoration, by tradition. I cannot construct that sequence of events. Other artifacts recovered from Padi Imen's tomb were conventional canopic jars, amulets, linen wrappings. The wooden object shared no visual language with any of them. From the journal, it does not belong to the same world as the objects beside it. Even in a glass case, even behind a label, you can see that. It is from somewhere else. Egyptologist Dawood Khalil, reviewing Messiha's original notes in 1994, observed that no comparable object had been found in any other Egyptian tomb before or since. It remains singular. From the journal, singular. That is the word everyone uses, as if one is somehow more acceptable than many, as if one means it could still be a mistake. In 2003, a structural engineer named Adel Ferris requested access to catalog number 16-3034 for independent study. His application was approved, then quietly delayed for 11 months. From the journal, there are people who do not want this examined too closely. I do not say this with suspicion. I say it because I have watched them not examine it. When Ferris finally gained access, he focused on a detail no prior researcher had formally documented, the angle of the wing relative to the fuselage. It was not level. It was tilted slightly upward. That upward tilt is called dihedral. It is the geometry that gives an aircraft passive stability, the tendency to self-correct and return to level flight without pilot input. From the journal, dihedral. I looked the word up afterward, though I already knew what it meant. I needed to see it written down. I needed it to be a real word for a real thing. Ferris submitted his measurements to 2 aeronautical colleagues without identifying the source. Both confirmed the dihedral angle was consistent with a functional, stable glider configuration. From the journal, I told one of them where the measurements came from. He sat very still. Then he said, and I am writing this exactly, that he wished I had not told him. The object weighs 39 grams. For its size and the density of sycamore wood, aerodynamicists note that this is close to the optimal weight for a glider of its wingspan. From the journal, optimal. I keep returning to that word. Not approximate, not coincidental, optimal, as if someone calculated it. No inscription was ever found on the object, no dedicatory text, no name of a god, no funerary formula for an object placed in a tomb. That silence is almost without precedent. In ancient Egypt, every object placed in a tomb carried a purpose, magical, protective, or dedicatory. The absence of any such marking on catalog number 603047 is not a small omission. It is a rupture. From the journal, every object in that tomb spoke. The jars, the amulets, the linen, all of it addressed someone, named something. This one is silent. It has nothing to say to the dead. In 2005, a materials analyst in Kiro Cross referenced the sycamore's grain density with known ancient Egyptian timber sources. The wood dated to roughly 2000 BC, but its origin grove could not be determined. From the journal, the wood came from somewhere. Everything comes from somewhere, but no one has been able to say where this particular tree stood, or who cut it, or when. The wingspan of the object measures approximately 18 centimeters. Its body length is 14. These proportions, span greater than length, are not found in any other known Egyptian wooden bird carving. From the journal, I laid it next to 3 other bird figures from the same period. They are clearly birds. This one is clearly something else. The difference is not subtle. It is absolute. Halil noted in a 1998 addendum to his earlier review that the object's nose, the forward tip, was weighted slightly heavier than the tail section. This front-heavy balance is a fundamental requirement for stable glider flight. From the journal, the balance point is not at the center. It is forward of center. I held it there, on one finger, and it rested perfectly. I did not expect it to rest perfectly. No academic consensus has ever formed around catalog number 603047. Egyptologists and aeronautical engineers have continued to publish in parallel, rarely citing each other, rarely arriving at the same room. From the journal, the problem is not that no one has an answer. The problem is that the people with the right questions are not speaking to each other, and perhaps that is not accidental. All fried ways, screened. In 2007, a small research group at Cairo University attempted to build a scaled-up version of catalog number 603037, proportionally identical, using sycamore wood with no modern aerodynamic refinements. From the journal, they made it 3 times the original size. The first flight lasted 11 seconds. No one in the room spoke during those 11 seconds. I counted them. The scaled model demonstrated not only sustained glide, but a gentle, self-correcting arc, returning to level flight each time it was nudged off axis. The original design appeared to encode that behavior. From the journal, self-correcting. That is not decoration. That is not symbolism. Something that corrects itself in flight was designed by someone who had watched something fly and understood why. The team's findings were submitted to 2 peer-reviewed journals. One declined without review. The other published a condensed version with the flight test data removed from the final edit. From the journal, the data was not wrong. It was removed because it was inconvenient. There is a difference. I want that difference to be on record somewhere, even if only here. Catalog number 603047 has been photographed thousands of times, yet only a handful of those images show the underside of the wings, a surface that, under raking light, reveals faint parallel lines running along the grain. From the journal, the lines are not decorative. They are too regular, too consistent. They run in the direction of airflow. I do not know what to do with that observation, so I am simply recording it. Those lines have never been formally analyzed. No published study references them. It is unclear whether this is because they were examined and dismissed, or because they were never examined at all. From the journal, the absence of a record is not the same as the absence of a thing. I have learned that much. What is not written down does not cease to exist. It simply waits. In 2009, a retired aeronautics professor named Henri Valois requested a private viewing of catalog number 603037 at the Cairo Museum. He had spent 40 years designing gliders. From the journal, Valois stood at the case for a long time before he said anything. When he finally spoke, he said only, "Whoever made this knew what they were doing." Then he asked to sit down. Valois never published his assessment. He died in 2011. Among his papers, catalogued by his family, was a single index card with the museum catalog number written on it and nothing else. From the journal, a man who spent his life understanding flight looked at this object and chose silence. I find that more significant than any paper he might have written. Hoshorse. The object has now been in institutional custody for over a century. In that time, no classification has been formally revised. It remains listed, officially, as a model bird. From the journal, Model Bird. 2 words doing an enormous amount of work. 2 words standing between a question and the place the question leads. What the object cannot tell us is where the knowledge it encodes came from, whether it was arrived at slowly, by observation, or whether it arrived all at once from somewhere unrecorded. From the journal, there are 2 possibilities. Either someone in ancient Egypt understood flight well enough to build this, or someone else did, and it ended up here. I cannot decide which is more difficult to accept. Catalog number 6037 remains in Cairo. It is not on permanent display. It can be requested for study. Most requests, the records show, are never followed through. From the journal, I went back one last time. I did not take notes. I only looked at it. It looked, and I know how this sounds, like something that was still waiting to be understood. No one has claimed catalog number 6337. No institution has staked its reputation on it. And yet it persists, studied, set aside, and studied again. From the journal, the strangest things are not the things that vanish. They are the things that remain, quietly, patiently, in plain sight, in a labeled drawer, waiting for someone to ask the right question. The artifact was found in 1898. It has now existed in the modern record for over 125 years. In that time, the questions around it have not narrowed. They have widened. From the journal, a century of looking, and we are no closer to an answer. That is not failure. That is the shape of a question that is genuinely difficult. I have come to respect that shape. What is documented is this: a wooden object, 14 centimeters long, with a geometry that aeronautical engineers have independently confirmed is consistent with stable, self-correcting flight. That is the record. From the journal, I have stopped trying to explain it. Explanation requires a framework, and no existing framework is large enough. What I can do is describe it, exactly, and leave the description here. The tomb it came from is gone now, excavated, catalogued, and closed. The people who made what was inside it have been dead for more than 2,000 years. The object is all that remains of whatever they knew. From the journal, I think about the person who made it, not the civilization, not the period, the person. Someone sat down with a piece of wood and made something that still works. I want to know what they knew. Catalog number 603047 is 39 grams. It fits in a closed hand. It has outlasted every person who has ever studied it, questioned it, or chosen to look away. From the journal, it was here before we found it. It will be here after we are done with our questions. That may be the only thing about it we can say with certainty.